Good day, all you spectacular Spartan sophomore scholars. I am Mrs. Gradian, and today I am here to review our process with the inquiry journey and take us to the next steps. Last week, Ms. Turner took you on a tour of SIRS and helped you to choose a topic for inquiry. At the end of week 3, you should have chosen that topic and created a focus question. Today, we're going to take a look at the claim, what it is, why we need it, and how to write a strong, persuasive one. At the end of week 4, you will have a claim and have gathered more supporting sources for that claim. So this week's target skill is I can understand how to write a strong, persuasive claim for my inquiry project. So how do we know what a claim is? Let's start with the definition. Definition of a claim is that it is the central idea of your argument. Sometimes it's called a thesis statement. We use claim because you guys are used to writing CERs. It is the focus. It's the what you will prove in your presentation. And it is also the so what of your presentation. So here's an example that I thought of after watching a few episodes of Tiger King. Animals in captivity should be provided as natural a habitat as possible. So this claim is fairly strong because it is both opinion and backed by fact. How do I create a solid, persuasive claim? There are 2 questions to consider when you are writing your claim. First, is it arguable? And second, is it provable? So I thought I would make a couple of examples here and we can decide whether they work as persuasive claims. First, chocolate cake is the best. Is it arguable? Yes, because there are some people, I don't know a lot of them, but there are some people who don't like chocolate. Is it provable? Not really, because it's pretty much just an opinion. Here's another one. Chocolate cake is made with cocoa powder. Is it arguable? Not really. Even if you melt down something else like chocolate chips to make the cake, the chocolate chips still have cocoa powder in them. Is it provable? Yes. All you have to do is look at the ingredients. Now, here is one that is both arguable and provable. Example, cacao, the main ingredient in chocolate, as a cash crop, is growing less appealing to young farmers in West Africa, and that may lead to a worldwide shortage of chocolate. The source here is Forbes. So, is it arguable? Yes. Some people might say that's not true. Is it provable? Yes, I read an article on Forbes, and I'm sure that there are other resources that can help to prove this. So it's much more specific. It's an opinion, but it's also fact-based. So it's a better, stronger, persuasive claim. Now, we are going to be watching a couple of student examples. As I was thinking about your project and the journey that you're on in inquiry, I thought back to some former students and I decided to reach out to them and do a little interview of them. You may have watched the podcast last week if you looked at the extra materials from last week's lesson, but if you didn't, it will be linked to this week's lessons as well. And today, though, you're just going to see a couple of clips from their interviews. My first guest is Connor Glassbrenner, and we're going to watch his clip, and then we'll talk a little bit about what he had to say.
In 2014, when I did the project, it was around the time, and some of you maybe have seen it, it was pretty popular, a documentary called Blackfish, which I had seen and was really moved by at the time, and I still am, but The documentary, for those that don't know, is basically kind of an inside look at life, the life of killer whales and other wildlife at SeaWorld. So that's kind of where my initial claim started. I had seen the film, and then, Miss Grady had introduced this project, and I kind of wanted to do some further investigating into, some of the claims that were made, because there was a very controversial film as well. So it had a lot of different sides to the story, and I kind of wanted to focus on researching what was true and what was false.
So your question was then, is this documentary accurate?
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to look at, like, is SeaWorld bad? I think that might have actually been my question.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think now it's coming back to me. But yeah, I think that was like my question, and I had a variety of different sources, and I used a lot of academic research to back it up as well. And it kind of all revolved around me being initially interested in the documentary.
So then what was your final claim? What did you find out?
So I've kind of found out that life at SeaWorld, and it's definitely evolved a lot today. Like, I think even then, even now, SeaWorld is just so much different. Like, they don't do, at the time they did the killer whale shows, and I don't believe they even do those anymore. So a lot has changed, and a lot has evolved even with the film from when I was making my claim. But at the time, I remember having a lot of research that, supported the film, showing that SeaWorld wasn't giving these killer whales, like, the environment that they should have been living in. And obviously, following the documentary, things kind of changed. So I think that was my, like, kind of what I found. However, I also found, some contraries, some interesting things that contradicted the documentary. So some things that the documentary maybe exaggerated more, that people claimed was somewhat false, which is something you can expect from a documentary, because all filmmakers are going to go into a documentary with some sort of bias. So I thought that was what was interesting. But yeah, that was kind of my initial claim, was that my inquiry was kind of right, but I also found some interesting things along the way, and I think that's part of the fun with the project, is you might find that there are things that you think that actually aren't maybe true.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So Connor's question was, is SeaWorld bad? After watching the documentary Blackfish, that was the question he started out with. And after his research, he came up with this claim: SeaWorld's current practices of keeping killer whales in captivity for the purposes of human entertainment and education is unethical and must be changed. So, was it arguable? Yes. Some people might have disagreed with him. Was it provable? Yes, he found a lot of information to back up his claim. Next, we have Zach
So
Wolf,
my question
we're going to
was,
watch his
should
clip.
gay marriage be legal in the United States? I remember, so I'm a theater major, and I've always loved theater, and it was a huge part of my life in high school as well. So inside the theater community, there is a large gay community as well. So almost all of my friends and a lot of my best friends were gay. So to me, that was a good starting point for me, because it was something that I really personally connected to, and it felt like it was a good starting place for me. Let's see, what kind of, or where I went from there was, I remember, I think you talk about pathos, ethos, and logos, maybe sophomore year specifically. I remember Mr. Jenkins' class, I had him the first semester, so we talked a lot about that with my writing. So I wanted to find a way that I could incorporate all of those into my project. And I knew that I had a very strong emotional connection to my topic. And I knew that I had a very strong logical, I guess, explanation for my topic as well. So going through there, starting from there, I referenced the Bible, I know, in my presentation, because I wanted to talk about how everyone interprets the Bible differently, and that's important for your, I guess it was important for my argument for that. And I talked a lot about the emotional the emotional stance of it, and how my friends felt being excluded in their community as part of the United States. So that's kind of where that project took me.
Okay, and then your final claim was?
My final claim was that yes, gay marriage should be legal. I want to go off what Connor said. Yes, your reputation is also a really important part of this project. So for me, I think my reputation mostly focused around the economy and what effects legalizing gay marriage would have on the economy, specifically with taxation. And I think that it was important to me that I acknowledged this and kind of like wanted to reference it because we had just rebounded from a recession in this time, and to me, this I guess a specific refutation, I was able to talk about. Yes, people can say that gay marriage should not be legal for this reason, but in the end, money doesn't really shouldn't define someone's happiness. Was I think what it led me to.
Okay. And then obviously your side was that it should be.
It should be legal, yes. And in 2014, actually, during the middle of my project, gay marriage, there was the first case taken to the Supreme Court about should gay marriage be legal or not, and it actually won. So that was kind of like the turning point in history in which gay marriage started to become legal in certain states, and it's still working its way through. But it was pretty cool to see my argument kind of take place in history at the same time.
Yeah. Now you'll see that Zach had a very close connection because of many of his good friends and decided to choose this question: should gay marriage be legalized? And after his research, he decided that yes, it should be legalized in the United States due to logical, ethical, and financial reasons. It was really a pleasure to chat with Zach and Connor about their experience with inquiry. They had more to share and some advice for students going through the process. So if you want to hear more from them, you can watch the full podcast by clicking the link on the helpful links slide, which is right here. And we're going to be looking at your assignment, but before we do that, we're going to flip forward here and look at the formative assessments or activities for this week. We encourage you as a department to keep reading, watching, listening, find at least 3 more sources for your topic. So articles, TED Talks, podcasts. And then if you didn't start that Google Doc with your list of sources, we really recommend that you do that and then add any new sources to it so that you can keep track of them. You can also consider coming to your teacher's office hours to ask questions, just chat, talk about anything you need to talk about. And finally, you can always do a Flipgrid to update us on what you're reading. Now we're going to go back and look at today's assignment or this week's assignment. And I have completed one that you can look at here. So this week, you're focusing on creating your claim. You're going to put your name in there. You're going to see that it's going to be due May 4th at 8 a.m. Good idea to try to do that before Monday morning. So I decided, since I've already talked about chocolate, that I would switch over to the other side and do something with vanilla. Because one thing I've noticed as a baker is that the cost of vanilla extract has gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. So I decided to ask the question, why is vanilla extract so expensive right now? And then what I found as I started reading was there are actually quite a few factors that have contributed to the rise of the cost of vanilla. Some of the articles that I read were from Business Insider, called Why is Vanilla So Expensive? One from Martha Stewart and MotherNatureNetwork.com, and they all kind of have the similar topics. Some of the facts I found were vanilla is the second most labor-intensive food crop to grow behind saffron, which is a very expensive spice that's used in a lot of Middle Eastern recipes. And according to Business Insider, vanilla is very difficult to grow. I had no idea. And it's also only native to a few places. Mexico is one, Madagascar is another. Another thing that I found is that humans and weather are a threat. There was a huge, I believe it was a tsunami in Madagascar that wiped out a huge crop of vanilla. And I think that that may have been just the beginning of that rise in price. Also, though, something I found out through probably all three of these sources is that another threat to the crop is that when vanilla beans are fully mature, people will come and steal them. And so theft is a huge problem, a risk factor in growing vanilla as a crop. And then there is a limited supply because it only grows in a few places in the world. All right, and then some opinions. One thing that I found through the Mother Nature article was that a lot of food manufacturers have moved towards all natural processes and ingredients in their foods. And because of that, artificial flavorings for vanilla are not as popular anymore. And so the demand is growing, but the amount of vanilla available is not able to keep up. Also, people aren't aware of how often vanilla is used, even in non-food products like perfume. And then we talked a little bit about this earlier, but it is a risky crop to grow. So many farmers are choosing not to do it anymore. So based on some of those things, I decided that my claim would be, in order to bring down the cost of vanilla, people need to support its growers by keeping up the demand, reducing deforestation, and buying only ethically sourced beans. So this is what your final process for this week is going to look like. And you will find that assignment on Google Classroom. And make sure you check out the helpful links. If you need further assistance, you should talk to your teachers, come to their office hours, or email us. We are here for you. So follow your curiosity and have fun this week as you continue to explore your topic. Take care.